Okay, so Dark type and Ice type, right? Both moderately decent offensive typings. Dark allowing you to take advantage of Ghost and Psychic, Ice allowing you to bring down dragons, which was huge before Fairy was introduced. Now, defensively, both these types are absolute trash. So, I would like to ask the very important question: can I beat Pokemon Sapphire with only a Sneasel? You see what I did there? I weaved the title into natural sentence structure as a way to organically introduce the video. On top of that, I just called out my own joke to make it seem like I understand comedy. So, some of you may be asking why on earth I thought that this was a good idea for a challenge. And the answer is, I never did. Because I didn't think of this video concept. Instead, I made the mistake of asking my brother what his favorite Pokemon is, and decided, hey, that sounds like a good challenge idea. So, you may be asking yourself, is Sneasel really that bad, or am I just being hyperbolic for the sake of comedy? And the answer is yes. In reality, Sneasel, for a first form Pokemon, is pretty impressive, rocking a 115 speed and a 95 attack. That's literally half of Machamp's strength shoved into this tiny little Weevil. The main reason why Sneasel actually sucks is his typing. You see, my little man only resists Ghost, Ice, and Dark, and suffers from a weakness to Rock, Bug, Steel, Fire, and a quad weakness to Fighting. On top of that, his level up move list leaves a lot to be desired. He learns Slash, I guess, at level 50, and nothing else useful. Though, the TM move list gives a bit more of an optimistic story. The standouts to me are Return, Iron Tail, Brick Break, Shadow Ball, Secret Power, Aerial Ace, and Ice Beam. Which will probably do a lot of work against Drake, even though Sneasel has an abysmal 35 attack, which, you know, the exact same as Zubat's attack stat. Another thing that makes Sneasel stand out as particularly good is his ability, Inner Focus, which negates flinching. This would normally be just an okay ability for like your average adventure, but in Gen 3, everyone and their mother uses Fake Out and will clap your cheeks repeatedly. Luckily, Inner Focus ruins that strat. I should elaborate on why I'm playing Sapphire over Emerald, and that's because I think Steven Stone is a better Pokemon champion than Wallace, since Steel type is brutal, and Metagross is an absolute monster. On top of that, Emerald has a few more points where the story just takes over, and I feel Sapphire and Ruby are a bit more streamlined for better or worse. If I had to guess, I would assume that we need to be probably level 75 to take on the Elite Four, but there's no reason I see we should pass level 90, since Sneasel is leaps and bounds better than Cacnea from our last run. Either way, I'm off to the races, and I make myself a boy and name myself Amped, since that is my name. And can I just say, it always takes me aback when I realize that I can't name my rival in this game. For some reason, it just kinda feels wrong. Either way, after riding in the OSHA safe truck, I immediately go to Save the Professor, where I can get my first Pokemon. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Treecko. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Treecko with Sneasel, since nothing screams I want to have fun like having the Ice Dark type being chased around by a firefighting chicken for the entirety of the game. I grab Sneasel from the bag. It has quiet nature, which kinda sucks since it increases its barely useful special attack and decreases Sneasel's speed, which is one of its biggest advantages. Honestly, the only other nature I think that would suck more is Modest, since it would decrease attack, which would really suck. Either way, I use my Sneasel to whoop the Dark type Zigzagoon rather easily. I name my Sneasel Laxley. You may or may not know that reference, you probably can't Google it, but hey, if you know the answer, or think you know, please leave a comment down below. And if you don't know, comment whatever you want. I made steak and eggs today. I am told that the professor's daughter, May, has gone on an adventure. And since she isn't allowed to have fun until the player is set free, I go to retrieve her. Turns out she's trying to categorize Pokemon in the decks. I don't think she understands the best way to handle Pokemon is to overlevel a single Mon and bulldoze every challenge in your way. Since Torchic has 0 ways of capitalizing on Sneasel's horrible typing, this is a completely one-sided fight. I get my running shoes and proceed to burn rubber, leaving a smoke trail, before I go talk to my father, who forces me to escort Wally to catch a future adult films actress. After being released from my charge, I head off to the forest where I beat up an adult and his dog, which just went over rather swimmingly. In retribution for my morally questionable actions, this last poisons me, and I pass out before I can get to the nearest hospital. After getting past Little Miss Chloroform, I make it to Rustboro, the site of my first big challenge, Roxanne. She has a team of all rock types. Not only is Laxley weak to rock, she also doesn't learn a non-normal type attacking move until level 22. I go to battle Roxanne at level 18, knowing full well I only have a 4-level advantage on her, and she has 2 Pokemon. My planet screeching at her until her ears bleed and she gives up doesn't work, when Laxley goes down to just a few rock throws. I go off and train north of town until I hit level 22 and learn Feint Attack. Though my special attack sucks, Geodude and Nosepass suck even harder in the special defense side of things. And for a victory lap, I go north of town into the cave, where I find a thug and his dog. I proceed to beat them up and save a Wingull. Since I saved the man's Wingull, he now owes me 87 compulsory boat rides, so he happily takes me where I need to go. Once I get to Dewford Town, I get the Silk Scarf so I can power up Scratch, and later, hopefully, Slash can do some work. I decided coming off of my recent victory at the Rock Gym that the fighting gym should be little problem. I successfully trounce the entirety of the fighter trainer lineup and proceed to challenge Broly. Okay. Great. A single karate chop is all it takes for me to go from 67, my max HP, to 0. Well, I guess it's detour time. I go in the cave and deliver a letter to Steven Stone. I try again against Broly at level 28, and Broly decides to take it easy on me, opening it up with an early seismic toss. After surviving that, and then 3 arm strokes from Akihita, I put him down rather easily with my second quick attack, securing me the knuckle bad. I use my second compulsory boat ride to get the old man to take me to Slateport. Once I get there, I go to the museum to see Captain Boat Pun. We are immediately besieged by 2 Aqua Grunts, who are both one-shot. Their boss comes in and berates them both for being failures and not defeating me, and then lets me go without defeating me himself. Pansy. After a bit of training, I go to the rival. She leads with Whalmer, who goes down to a crit quick attack. Next is Spicy Chicken Sandwich, who goes down to half off of 1 quick attack. Then wastes his turn on Focus Energy, leaving it open to another quick attack. Last is Shroomish, who takes about half its health from a quick attack, misses Stun Spore, allowing me to get the win. I head forward on my Pokemon adventure and meet Wally outside the Mallville gym. I look into his eyes and see the same blissful ignorance I had as a child. The hope that soon one day I will be the best Pokemon trainer in the world. So I decide to swiftly take that light from his eyes and break it over my knees. We can't have optimism these days, Wally. After a bit of adventuring, I decide to take on the Mallville gym. The Mallville gym is electric type, which has no advantage on Sneasel, so this should be fairly easy overall. I was so insanely wrong, it hurt my soul. I finally know how Wally feels. I may not have a weakness to electric type, but steel type against Magnemite and Magneton makes them impossible to beat for me. How I see it, I have 2 options right now. I can either grind out attempts or go get Slash. If any of you are familiar with Sneasel's level up move list, you'd know that Slash is a long way off. But honestly, I feel like that's the better option. Hopefully, Steven Stone won't be this big of a problem. I decided to try to get Ice Beam from the game store. And to whoever told me you have innate positive games from the game corner, you're a liar. Either that or I'm supremely unlucky. Either way, I wasted another 2 hours of my life trying to grind for credits before deciding just to get Ice Beam from the wreckage later. I then start grinding hard. You know what that means? Time to chill. You should really consider subscribing if you made it this far. I make stuff like this fairly regularly, and I want to start streaming on Twitch so we can have more of a live dialogue overall. Let me know if you guys are interested. On top of that, I catch 5 zigzagoons, so then I can use pickup for protein and rare candies. And would you look at their names? Please follow me on Twitter. In all seriousness, Twitter is the best way to interact with me, and in the future, I want to use it as a way of conversing with you guys. For instance, planning community events or letting you guys know when I'm about to stream. Also, I post dog pics if that suits your fancy. I try again at level 42, and still, due to Sneasel's terrible defense and all my attacks being not very effective, I just get trounced. I am nearly double the level of Watson's Pokemon, and I still don't stand a chance. Luckily, I think if I can get Slash, I should be able to sweep Watson overall. And I could not have been more right. At level 52, I one-shot Magnemite and Voltorb. And I had to eat one Shockwave from Magneton in response, but that's it. That's all I had to do to get the Dynamo badge. Next, I am off to Meteor Falls, where the guys in red and blue are arguing infinitely about how best to cause the apocalypse. I tell them they just need to leave the poor doctor alone, and they do so without fighting, since I have Team Magma backing me. And, with their powers combined, I now have the power of 1.2 12-year-old children. The idiots in the cave have officially rebranded themselves to the idiots on the mountain. Until Laxley comes by and sweeps all of them, making Archie question his life decisions. Now that I have fought the gang boss, and no, they are planning the apocalypse, I decide the best way to use my time is to take on Flannery. I honestly thought this fight was going to be a lot harder, since Fire type is strong against Sneasel and all of that, but none of her Pokemon resist Slash, so I just one-shot sweep all of them, netting me the Heat Badge. Next, it's time to take on my father. He's packing a Slack King, which in this generation can put out some insane damage. Truant really isn't a hindrance for him in a single Pokemon challenge, since a one-shot's still a one-shot. My first attempt has me nearly bringing down his first Slack King, before passing out and taking a few facades, which didn't hurt as much as I thought they would. Sadly, I'm yawned when the next Slack King comes out, allowing him to land a Focus Punch, which ends the fight. Round 2, I two-shot Slack King, only eating one facade. The next Slack King wastes his turn setting up Focus Energy, giving me effectively 3 turns to do damage, enough time to land a crit and bring him down. Lastly is Vigoroth, who goes down in about 3 slashes, netting me the Balance Badge. Next, I stomp out May's hopes and dreams outside Fortree City so I can go battle Winona. But before that fight, I meet up with Steven Stone, who shows me the Kekyon, who have been blocking our path. I go off and pick up Ice Beam before battling Winona, which 100% trivializes this fight. Only Pelipper survives a single hit, and only returned with a weak Aerial Ace. On my way up to the top of Mount Pyre, I get the TM for Shadow Ball, which I assume will be insanely useful, since Ghost type is physical in Gen 3, which bypasses my garbage special attack. Either way, I go up to the top of the mountain, and the elderly people give me the blue orb, since I'm the chosen one or something. I'm invited into Team Aqua's hideout, and I steal their Master Ball and do literally nothing else. Next, I am off to Moss Deep City, where I meet Tate and Liza, who demand I have 2 Pokemon to fight them. So I bring in a level 6 Tentacool who I plan to attack myself with every turn until Tentacool goes down. And that really doesn't matter, since 2 Shadow Balls end the fight. And can I take this moment to talk about how odd this challenge has been? I had to grind up to level 52 to take on Watson. And after that, I've only leveled to 63, and so far I have toppled 4 gyms, thwarted Team Aqua 3 separate times, and ruined May's hopes to ever be a Pokemon trainer. I've explored over half the map, and yet I've only gained 11 levels. And even then, those levels were mostly accidental. Literally none of them were required for me to handle these gyms. It's insane how lopsided this challenge has been. If it keeps going on like this, I may actually be spot on for my level 75 guess. Either way, now since I have the 7th gym badge, it is mandatory I go save the world. I whoop Archie so hard that he decides to wake up the ancient fish to take me on. Kyger gets unreasonably mad that Archie never learned basic color coordination and thought the red orb goes with the giant blue Pokemon for some reason. Not to mention, there is another opposing giant Pokemon that is red from the same myth that this blue one's from, but no, that would only make too much sense. Kyogre decides to go to the Cave of the Ancients, and I proceed to use a total of 2 slashes, which ends this literal god, if you take the Pokedex literally. Now that the end of the world has been averted, it's time to focus on more important things, like getting the gym badges. I perfect the ice puzzle so I can challenge Wallace. Love just goes down in a single slash. Wishcash eats an ice beam but uses amnesia and is finished off by a shadow ball. Celio falls to a single brick break. 2 shadow balls finish off Sea King, though he did get off a rain dance. Milotic goes down to 3 shadow balls, and only having had landed a single water pulse. So that was the most interesting fight I've had in several hours of playing, even though I was only attacked once. I guess that's kind of interesting. Either way, off to Victory Road, which is extremely unremarkable. Though, I decide I need someone who knows both Flash and Fly to navigate the darker rooms of Victory Road, so I catch a Golbat in the Master Ball and name him Batman to avoid a copyright claim. Turns out, my memory is actually horrible, since I thought Golbat could learn both Flash and Fly, and it turns out he can learn neither, which is extremely awesome. With that disappointment out of the way, I decide to brute force my way through the dark rooms instead. And it turns out that brat Wally decided to continue trying to be a trainer even after I stomped him into the ground. I one-shot sweep the entirety of Wally's team to teach him his plays, and he vowed to never waste a slot for an actual rival again. On to the Elite Four. Sydney is overall fairly easy, as Brick Break can successfully 2-shot every member of his team. The only hiccup is when Sharpedo uses Swagger, causing me to lose a bit of health when I hit myself, but Laxley then snaps out of confusion and next turn one-shots the fish. I heal up and take on Phoebe. Shadow Ball makes quick work of her team, one-shotting most of them. Sableye and the second Dusclops take 2 because they are frankly awesome and tanky ghost type that I love. Next is Glacia, who doesn't stand a hazard of a chance against Brick Break. All of our Pokemon go down to 1 or 2 hits. Even Walrein went down to a single crit. Dragon Trainer Drake is next, and this is why I brought Ice Beam. All of his team is weak to it, and all but Shelgon are quad weak to it, which makes it an easy one-shot sweep, even though Sneasel has the terrible 35 base special attack. Last is one of my favorite Pokemon champions, Steven Stone, who mistakes me for Wally and absolutely obliterates Sneasel. I don't even get past his 3rd Pokemon after a few dozen attempts. So, this began the worst part of this run. I decide I really need to be ready for him, so I replace Slash with Iron Tail and proceed to grind. I fought him again and again. I fought him at level 75, I fought him at level 80, I fought him at level 85, I fought him at 90. Each time, I spent well over an hour resetting, hoping for like the Goldilocks run. I fought him again and again. Sometimes I even got to Metagross, who is physically incapable of missing his 85% accurate moves. So, if you don't mind, as is tradition with challenge YouTubers who waste hours of their life grinding, I would like to plug my Twitch. I'm planning on returning to streaming here soon, if my job doesn't screw that over. But I only really want to start streaming again if you guys want to see it. It would be a way more casual format that just allows me to play games and talk with you guys. My brother, who normally co-stars on this channel, has agreed that if I start streaming again, he would be down to side-saddle me throughout a Nuzlocke. Which, if you are new, or don't know how well we roll off each other, I would suggest watching the later episodes of our Fire Emblem series on this channel. Either way, I grind to level 100 and go to challenge Steven one last time. And by that I mean I reset 62 times before coming across a decent run. Finally, I get to this run. First, Skarmory is frozen by the first Ice Beam, forcing Steven to heal, giving me time to pop off 2 more Ice Beams, only allowing Skarmory to attack once. Next is Claydol, who goes down to a single Shadow Ball. Next are the 2 fossil Pokemon. I learned that I need to get consistent one-shots, and to do that, I need to land a 75% accurate move twice. Luckily for me, both Iron Tails land, so now it is time for the Steel Wall. Another Shadow Ball nearly kills Metagross, who misses his Meteor Mash. And genuinely behind the scenes here real quick, in my over 100 attempts on Steven, this is the first time I'm seeing Metagross miss, and he has to attack twice each attempt to put me out, and both of them are 90 or 85% accuracy moves. On top of that amazing luck, Metagross eats a Citrus Berry, leaving him in kill range, but out of Steven's restore range, netting me the kill. Last is Aggron. This is the first and only time I see this Pokemon. Since Aggron goes down to a single Brick Break, ending the hardest challenge I've done so far. I never expected this to turn out the way it did. I expected it to get held up at Brawly or Flannery, but not Watson. And once Watson was down, I just trounced, destroyed the entirety of this middle game. There was no challenge there. It was all sweep after sweep after sweep after sweep. And then the Elite Four, I expected them to be pushovers, and I was fairly right there. But Steven, I did not expect him to be this hard. Sure, he uses Steel-type Pokemon and is generally regarded as a kind of tough Pokemon champion. But, I wasted so much of my life fighting this man. Either way, I genuinely had an amazing time. I know it sounds like I'm suffering. I'm not. It was great. But thank you for watching this far, and I hope you guys all have a great day. See you next time. Bye.